Okay, first question for you today.
Here we go. Questions and answers.
Questions and answers with Kris Vallotton, everybody.
Oh, no, both of us.
Oh, here we are. Is how long does healthy prophetic community take to develop, and what should the frequency of training be?
Depends on what you call healthy. And, you know, I mean, we're talking about healthy prophetic culture, but the thing is, if you have unhealthy relationships, you have, things that aren't healthy in other places. Obviously, I mean, how do you have a healthy prophetic culture if you don't have a healthy relational culture?
That's a good point.
All of that, it all fits together.
Connects.
Yeah.
It's like body, soul, and spirit. How can you?
Yeah.
It's all connected.
Yeah, it's all connected. So I would say, but it does take time. It does take time. And I think, too, we were having a great conversation before I came in today with the senior leadership team. Well, half of our team has gone on vacation, but we just had a smaller team, and we were talking about, prophecy, judging prophecy, because it feels like in our culture, we still don't really have a great system for judging prophetic words, especially big ones, like these prophetic words we're getting, like, you're going to have $40 million meant to build that building this year. It's like, okay, well, we have to make decisions based on, we have, like, contractor needs a year notice if that's going to happen like that. So, so we talked a lot today about, increasing the maturity of our prophetic culture. We've been doing this for 44 years.
Yeah.
So, I think that it's a process. And at what point, just because you're healthy doesn't mean that you don't still have challenges and struggles. But I do think it takes, I don't think it happens in a year or two.
I think that's actually really inspiring and encouraging, because I think sometimes, especially as a young person, you look at people that are older and you think that they've figured it out. They've been doing this for 50 years. They surely, there's a 5-step plan, and life is so much more complex than that.
It is.
Right? And the prophetic is so much more complex than that. And so it's ever evolving and ever changing, and you're always growing and you're always learning. And so there's not an arriving point, but there's just a continual learning journey that you go on where it's refined and matured. So it's really inspiring.
And when you're talking about prophetic ministry, you're talking about talking to the Lord and having him.
Right.
I mean, like, this is like let's break down its basics. It's like, I have a relationship with the Lord in which he talks to me about me, and he talks to me about other people, and he talks about us, right? Him and I. Yeah. So it's like the part when he talks about me to me, or he talks to me about you. Yeah. That's what the Bible calls prophetic. So it's really about relationship, right? And so, for example, we were talking today about how the early church processed prophecy so much differently. For example, Agabus takes Paul's belt and binds him and said, this is what's going to happen, Paul, if you go to Jerusalem. And the whole congregation there, I think it was at Ephesus, goes, don't go. And he's like, I'm ready not just to be, punished, or whatever he said, but to die for Christ. And so the prophetic word in his case was like, thank you for telling me what the cost is, but I know I'm still supposed to go. So there's this multiple dimensions to healthy prophetic culture where you're not just going yes or no, black or white. You're going, what's at the root of this? Yeah. And what is the Lord, who's also my friend, trying to say to me? Yeah.
That's beautiful. I love it. Okay. What does it mean to be called a prophet to the prophets? Have you heard that before? So not necessarily biblical.
Oh, I didn't say that. I just said, it's not, 3/4 of what we do is extra biblical, not anti-biblical, like an altar call is extra biblical. We don't have altar calls in the Bible anywhere. But I've never heard that phrase, a prophet to the prophet, so I wouldn't know. I wouldn't want to say something.
This is what it means. About. Yeah. Totally. Okay. Well, I love this next question. Okay. It says, what is the best way to prepare for BSSM? I'm assuming this person's coming to school. What would you say? Lead head teacher?
You went to BSSM.
I did go to BSSM.
So you would have some different kind of insights than I would have.
That's true. Yeah, you were never a student at BSSM.
No. I'll say some, and then you can share what you think.
Yeah, definitely.
I think, it's kind of put on your seatbelt. It's incredibly fun, and it is incredibly challenging. I think that, going to boot camp is different than going to high school. And I think this is not boot camp, but it's not high school. It's like, you are going to be called higher. You're going to be discovered, developed, and deployed. You're going to be in a group of, at least 40 or 50 people that you get connected to. You walk with them for an entire 9 months. And you build relationships with people that you probably wouldn't even want a friendship with, or wouldn't, because you're having shared experiences.
Yeah.
You will be a part of a miracle. Like you may be like, I don't do miracles, it's not my thing. And it's like, you'll be very surprised that this atmosphere brings out something in you that you didn't know was in you.
Yeah.
How about you? What would you say?
Oh, man. Trying to think back to when I was coming up to BSSM. I think there's so many different dynamics to a person coming to BSSM too. Some people are coming for one thing and the other thing. And I think it's so important, honestly, to come expectant, but not with an expectation, because I think...
Ooh, that's a good distinction.
Yeah, I think you'll be surprised by what the Lord has for you. And I think sometimes when you arrive to the scene thinking, I have to come to fulfill this thing, you don't actually value the thing that he's doing inside of you, and you spend the whole time wondering why this other aspect of why you came isn't unfolding, when the reality is he's doing something that he needs to do in your heart, in your life, whenever that looks like for you. But sometimes you can't even see it because you're so focused on when is this going to unfold? I thought I was coming for this thing. So I think it's coming expectant for the Lord to move, but with an open mind and just with faith that he's going to. He will move and he will change your life, and you're going to be surrounded by people
so good
that are on fire and that are like-minded, and you're going to create relationships that you'll have for the rest of your life, with people that you bond in the fire with. I think that's been one of the biggest blessings of BSSM, is the relationships that I gained from that. So even coming with an open heart to build with people and to build relationship with people, it's one of the best gifts that we have, being in school together with people that are running after the same things as us in such different ways. But yeah, it's beautiful.
And I was thinking of the scripture where the Lord said, I want to do more than you ask or think.
Yeah.
So part of the challenge is that we come with, like what you said, not just expectancy, but expectation.
Yeah, we have to have an expectation.
Like, you're going to do this. Like, here's what I'm coming for. And the Lord's, and sometimes the Lord's fulfilling that too.
Totally.
Often. But
it looks different, maybe.
It looks different, really?
Yeah.
And then, but the other thing is, but he wants to do more than you ask. So you've never asked it. And you never thought it.
Think or imagine.
Yeah. So, how do you prepare for something you never asked or thought for? Because the question is about preparation.
Yep.
And I think that you said it right. Like, I think come with expectation, come with a humble heart. Ditch your fear. You might be afraid standing in line, but that'll go away really quickly because
it's the most loving environment.
Yeah, super loving environment where where fun is one of our core values. So it's great.
It's a great time.
Yeah,
I want to go back.
Start all over.
I'll be attending first year.
You could pull your diploma and you can start over.
Honestly, I would. Oh my goodness, it's the best. It's the best. Okay, next question. Can God change his idea after he said no to us? This is something I learned in school.
How do you see that?
I would say, well, we see in the story of Moses, right? Yeah. Where God is frustrated and he's
Exodus 32.
And he's going to show that to his people. And Moses contends on behalf and God changes his mind. And so, I think when we see that all throughout scripture, that happens multiple times.
Yeah, I think it happened. It happened with Abraham and Lot, of course, and Sodom. But the Lord didn't really change his mind. But Abraham thought that he could change his mind. He negotiated with them.
Yeah,
I think it can happen. I also think that sometimes what we think is God's changed mind is his finally going, okay, I don't think that, I know that's not best.
Yep.
But go ahead and do it. And then, you know, you find out why the Father said that wasn't the best for you.
Yeah. It's so interesting. I'm reading Samuel right now.
Yeah.
And you see in Samuel, right, that they want a king.
Yeah.
They want a king.
There you go.
And they've wanted a king since the beginning. And he's like, don't you remember that I brought you out of slavery and I brought you to the promised land? And he's like, this is what they've wanted since, Samuel was talking to God. Yeah, this is what they've wanted since the days of Moses, And so eventually he's like, okay, go anoint Saul as king. And Sam's like, what?
And then he tells them all that, like, but here's the side effects of having a worldly king.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And there you go. I'm saying sometimes God's like, all right, it's kind of like the way we actually shepherd our adult children. It's like, all right, you want to do that?
Yeah, you're like,
do it.
Might not be, but I mean, have at it.
There might be some side effects to.
Yeah, but that's free will, right? He's created that since the beginning of time.
Yeah, that's really good. I love what your answer.
Yeah, it's great. I forget if we answered that question. Yes, you can. God can change his mind or get his idea. Okay, next question. What should I do in a waiting season? I also love this question.
You do?
I think I love it because it's so common. Everyone finds themselves in a season where they feel like they're waiting.
I mean, I always think, but some people wait forever. I mean, a few things come to my mind, so I'll say mine, you share yours. The first one I'd say, there's no such thing as just waiting. I would say preparing.
Yeah.
So I'd be preparing. Like David was anointed king, 1 Samuel 14, I believe. But he doesn't become king for 14 to 17 years. But what's he doing? He's learning how to be a king. He's learning how to lead people. And the first thing he does, of course he kills Goliath, but one of his first thing he does is lead 300 men who are. It's like, how are you going to lead a nation if you can't lead 300 men? So he's preparing. He's learning leadership. He's learning how to bond in battle. He's learning how to fight his enemies. He's learning how to build something.
Yep.
And he's going to need those skills. Really Moses he trains 40 years in growing up in Pharaoh's house. Who's Pharaoh? He's a king. What's Moses going to be? The leader of a nation. Yeah. So the Lord raises him in Pharaoh's house, and I don't think it was mostly evil. I think it was mostly good, in that he's learning how do kings think.
Yeah.
How do kings think about roads and water and getting people like natural utilities or resources. How do you meet the need of millions of people? How do you lead millions of people? Like, how do you think about the people? So, preparation is important. Yeah. The second thing, is kind of a little bit opposite of that, in that sometimes people are waiting for something to happen. Yeah. And God is waiting for them to act on what he's already said.
That's good.
So, and I'll say, like, these are kind of two tensions in my mind. It's like, I'm preparing. It's just like, go do something, That's so good. What do you think? Like you said, you like this question. So
yeah, I just like it because you get it so often. Mm-hmm. So, and I've been in the season. We've all been in seasons where we feel like we're waiting. And I would agree. I think recently I was even kind of journaling about this, and I'm like, I think the waiting season is so much more about preparation than anyone ever talks about. Yeah. And I think we actually have a choice in the waiting season to decide if we're going to take the seat of the victim or if we're going to take the seat of a victor, right? So are we going to just sit there and wallow in the fact that we're just waiting for this thing to happen in our life? And you promised me you do this, and yet where is it? I can't trust you anymore. You're not making this thing happen. And we just become victims. Yes. Versus, okay, actually, I'm going to pick up the tools that I have been given, and I'm going to go learn some things, and I'm going to put these things to work until they're refined, until I'm given more tools, and actually put that thing into practice. That's really good. So I just think that it's more about preparation, and if we take that mindset, I think the waiting season will feel so much easier to walk through, because you'll feel like you're working towards something versus just waiting for life to happen to you.
Yeah, the other thing I would say is, like, life is way more about a journey than a destination.
Yes.
So here's the challenge with some of the mindset that I'm talking about, Ellie. Like, it's like when this happens, the fulfilled prophecy, I get married. Then I'm going to have this life. Right. But the deal is that you're going to get married and it's going to start a whole nother process. And you're going to be like, when I have children, and then it's going to be when my children are, and it's going to be when we get our house paid off. And there's always a reason for life to not actually be at its fullest. Yeah. And like, what if fullness doesn't have to do with circumstances?
Yes.
But what if it has to do with relationship with God?
Yes.
So I think that a lot of people miss so much in life because they're waiting for a fulfilled prophecy.
Yeah.
Instead of acting every day as if anything's possible.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really good. Really, really good. Okay. Somebody's asked, Kris, does prophecy come at the most awkward moments in social environments, such as a party or a random event? Basically, I think this person's asking, like, is it always just in a church setting or,
No, I think mostly out.
Yeah.
I think the way it's supposed to be, like if you look at the early church, there was very few prophecies inside the synagogues. They were mostly on the road, in the streets, in relationship. No, I think the church without walls is a great way to say it, right? I mean,
absolutely.
I think that it happens in the church, but this is part of the challenge is that we're expecting awesome stuff to happen for 2 hours a week on a Sunday. And I'm like, what if we just woke up every morning going, anything is possible?
Yeah.
So I think we have to live with the high expectation that the Lord could speak to us with a homeless man. The Lord could speak to us with a friend calling us, a friend, or as we're reading our Bible in the morning. Like last night I had a great encounter with the Lord and just in bed. So, I think my greatest encounters, most of my really life-changing encounters have been alone in my bed or in the bathtub or something,
That's great. Okay. Somebody's asked, let's see. What is one of the ways you have encouraged yourself in the midst of intense times? Speaking the promises, going after God and what he is showing you. But what do you do when you are weary?
Well, we talked about this a lot, maybe 6-8 months ago, and a lot during COVID.
Yeah.
I think finding places of gratitude. Like I have, I don't know how many of them now, maybe 100, more than 100 things I'm thankful for.
Yeah.
I was just revisiting them probably 3 weeks ago, going through the list. All the things I was thankful for, all the things God's done in my life. And I actually had forgotten several of them.
Yeah.
And I think that faith grows in the garden of gratitude.
I think so.
And I think that it's so easy to get focused on what God has yet to do. The frustrations you have, like,
yes.
Kathy has Parkinson's. She lives with it every day. I live with, I'm with her. I'm sleep right next to her.
Right.
So, I mean, it would be really easy for her and for me to think about what the future could be like with that disease or, the worst case scenario. Or, she has limitations sometimes and it could just trigger like, oh, my life is dramatically reduced. And yet we're living in such a beautiful season. Our kids live just down the street from us. Our two young grandkids, 1 year old and 3 years old, are over our house nearly every day, swimming in the pool or hanging out, watching them grow up. You guys are, you and Elijah are over, a couple times, 3 times a week. It's like we're healthy. We're living full lives. It's like these are the good days. Like we should fully enjoy these days and not be worried about the future. The future will, as Jesus said, take care of itself.
Yeah. It's good.
Do you have a different answer to that?
No, I think gratitude is a place to go when you're weary. I think also, this is interesting. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and actually I was talking to Jay about this last week, and it's interesting. It keeps coming up in different ways. But I think sometimes when we're growing weary, we're actually growing disappointed, right? We're actually sometimes growing like, I don't know, this isn't what I thought it would be. And I forget who said this, but they said that disappointment is the soil for success. And when I heard that, I thought, oh, sometimes when we've gotten to a place where we're like, this is not what I thought it'd be, we almost feel like we're failing in a way, or this isn't actually encouraging to me. I'm not feeling super excited about this. Yeah. It's actually a space that is setting you up for success. It's actually a spot where you have the opportunity to grow and to learn and to become an even better version of yourself and be even more refined. And so I think gratitude is a great place to start. I think that whenever I have found myself highly disappointed, it's easy to camp out there versus going, oh man, what actually is really beautiful that's happening in my life. So I think that's a great thing.
Sometimes disappointment leads to reappointment, right? Like reappointing a different plan or whatever. Yeah, it's good.
That's really good. Okay, we're just about at time, so I'm thinking we can answer one more question. Can I be prophetic without being in the spotlight, working behind the scenes, you know? Being in the spotlight scares me a little. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah. Some of the most powerful people were people that didn't have a public platform, even in the Bible.
100%.
If you think about Joseph, like we love Joseph of the Old Testament, right? And actually, you could say prophetic ministry working in the workplace. You know, Esther, you know, workplace, you know, her daily life, interacting with God. And most of the prophets had a regular job they were having encounters with the Lord on their jobs, in their place of employment, on their farms, like Amos and Hosea. And then I think it's more prophecy as you go.
Yes.
I love the questions we're getting today because there's so much, we've so institutionalized relationship with God that people are asking questions that you're like, really, are these really questions? And then you think through it. It's like, the root of these questions is we've institutionalized Christianity. So the questions are about, can you have these encounters and this relationship and these prayers answered outside of the institution? And I'm like, wow, that it says a lot about the people who follow us and the mentality of the day, that we kind of think that Christianity isn't institutionalized to the place where we're asking questions like, can God actually move powerfully outside the 2 hours that I spend in church? And I'm like, I think we're supposed to equip the saints to do the work of service, and that is almost always happening outside of the quote institutionalized church. So, hey, I just want to say, I've been really stirred in my spirit that just to feeling like there's more. Yeah, and you know, I've had a couple of encounters in the last year that, you know, I think I shared one here where the Lord said there won't be any more cussing, and I want to say, you know, I nobody on my team would say he cussed like a sailor, but definitely I feel like the Lord is doing something in the whole area of you know, holiness and working on our attitudes and our hearts.
Purification.
Couple of nights ago, I woke up with this proverb that says, every man's way is right in his own sight, but the Lord judges the motives. And I'm like, ooh, motives. And it's like, I didn't say that. She didn't. You said this to me. It's like, yeah, we're talking about words, but what is the motive here? What's going on here? And I think the Lord is purifying our motives. I think he's purifying our mouths. I think that we're in a beautiful, holy, but like what people would say, glory epoch, but glory comes with correction and holiness. Isaiah 6, I see the Lord, he's high and lifted up. Oh, I'm a man of unclean lips. I live with a bunch of people with the same issue. And I think that we have to understand that there is holy conviction coming to us. I mean, I'm speaking to myself, obviously, and that some of what you might think of as condemnation is actually the conviction of the Holy Spirit in working in and through our negative attitudes. So I just want to pray, Lord, I thank you so much that you love us enough. You love us enough to not leave us the way we are. And I pray, God, for that holy conviction of correction, of redirection, of, cleaning us up from the inside out, from you want a bride that doesn't have spots or wrinkles. You're looking for beauty and splendor and excellence. And so we bless your people today in Jesus' name.